Hi guys, and welcome to the new Irregularly Programmed Show, otherwise known as NIPS. So NIPS will be irregular. I can't tell you how often. Might be every 2 months, maybe every 3 months. And there'll be a standard suite of segments through the program, which I'm going to try desperately to keep to under 30 minutes. And segments will include the golden oldie, but fairly random supply drop, bench update, what did I do, a random selection of stuff that I might have done, under the microscope, where we'll do a deep dive into a product or a book or something that hopefully will be interesting, Haledonia, where we talk about what's going on with the Haledonian Armed Forces and what new things are on the way, I See You, which will be my synopsis of some really interesting stuff I've seen from other YouTubers in the community, so I can point you in the direction of some good stuff. So we'll get off and running with the supply drop, and this is a package that literally turned up a few days ago, and also a bit of a delayed response to some of the Christmas and birthday presents I got in late December, early January. So first at bat is a resin figure from D-Day. It's the World War II British/German Santa Claus, London or Berlin, 1940 to 1945. So that keeps it pretty open. Although I don't think I've seen too many German soldiers wearing a British helmet. So hopefully in the box there's the alternate helmet. Next we have the Hataka, late World War II German AFV paint set. So this is for the two Panthers in particular. Have never tried Hataka paints before, but couldn't find another set in stock, so I thought I'd give these guys a try. And now we've got a tiny little plane, the Messerschmitt Bf 109E-3/E4-4, whatever, 144th scale, and I'll explain more about why I've gone tiny in a little while. And now I've got that stupid light out of camera shot. The MiG-21, and again, 144th scale, and going to try something a little bit different with these guys. And watch me butcher this. It's Borlisi Kugelsitzwagen, AB 1937, so the German military car. And whilst it might not seem obvious, there is a link here to the very first resin figure, the World War II British/German figure. And perhaps an even less obvious link to the first figure and the German police car, the France 1944 by MB, and there's a couple of very specific figures in this kit that I'm looking to use. And finally, some very carefully bubble-wrapped Mr. Colour, some clear varnish and some gloss varnish. Haven't tried Mr. Colour varnishes before, so I'll be curious to see how they come out. Right, so let's get this out on the bench for a closer look. So my idea for the Bf 109 and the MiG-21s is to reproduce a completely fictional dogfight scene with the Haledonian fighters taking on some of the Bf 109. So ultimately I probably want to end up with half a dozen of the Bf 109s. They only had one pack in stock, but I want to try a few little things in terms of how I can have the aircraft in position with the least amount of visibility of any supporting structure. So it's a bit of an experiment, but we'll see how it goes. And as I said before, I've never used the Hataka paints before. They say they're optimized for the airbrush, so that'll be interesting just to try them straight out of the bottle and see how they perform. And of course, this is for the buddy build diorama with Steve Mottram for the two Panthers I'm doing, so the straight out of the box one and the Pimp My Panther. So got some undercoat on the out of the box one on the weekend just gone, so looking forward to getting some actual camouflage paint on there next. So we have Mr. Colour, the super clear gloss, and also the matte. So super clear matte as well. You'd hope it would be clear, really. And the D-Day Miniatures World War II British/German Santa Claus. This figure I saw a while ago, probably 3 or 4 months ago, and I've had it on back order and it just turned up, so that triggered this recent purchase and delivery. So I had to buy some other stuff as well, of course, as you do. And this is for the 2019 Christmas special. So had an idea. I saw this figure ages ago. I have a really specific idea of how I want to display it and the messaging behind the 2019 Christmas dio. So it won't just be a little vignette under glass. It'll be a much bigger affair this time around, and a few other kits that came in this package will go with it. France 1944, and there's a couple of figures in here that I specifically want. And this is also going to be part of the Christmas dio. Now that's one, the nun in the wagon, and I'll have to do a fair bit of modification, and the GI holding the small child at the very least. Maybe the guys behind them as well. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, very hard to find a 1/35th scale nun. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of modification and maybe cast a couple of figures from my modified figure. And I won't offend all my German friends by trying to say that word again. I'll just call it the German military car. And believe it or not, this is also part of my planned 2019 Christmas special dio. But it won't look much like this by the time I've got through with it. So if you've watched the second part of the Pimp My Panther videos, you'll have seen this RP Tools photo etch bending tool. And look, I just can't speak highly enough of it. It made things a hell of a lot easier and actually gave me quite a lot more confidence to tackle some of those multiple tricky different direction bends. So a really great tool and a great investment. And I also got a scroll saw. Now, I'd have to be honest, and I'm not necessarily sure I really need one, but it was heavily discounted on special through eBay, and I think it's nothing all that flash. But I've used it a couple of times, and it's been super helpful. It was Christmas money, so why not? And look, for what I'm going to do with it, I think it'll be fantastic. Clearly, I've never used one before. You can probably see that from my technique, so I can only improve. But yeah, I think it'll be a really handy acquisition to the workbench. The little silver tube on the left blows air to keep the area that you're sawing clear, and it's also got a nice little LED light, so if you try and do things in the darkness, you can actually see yourself cut your own finger off, which is fantastic. I also got a couple of paint racks made by Hobby Zone with the ammo branding, and you just whack those together, a bit of MDF and some melamine covered MDF. And look, I meant to film this to show you, because these two, they're not hard to put together, but they're a little tricky and they come with no instructions. So I thought that might be helpful, but a rather careless error with my filming process meant that the first time I tried to do it, I forgot to turn it on. And the second time I tried to do it, I had a full memory card anyway, so missed both of them. I apologise for that. But what I did manage to capture was the third one, which is the Hobby Zone paintbrush holder, little tray workstation type thing. So I actually filmed that, and it was a much easier build. It wasn't an ammo branded one, and it came with instructions. I don't think you need instructions for this one, but that never goes astray. And only a couple of kits this time around. I've got Dragon's Smart Kit, the Stug G4, the early production, SD KFZ 167. I love the look of the Stugs. I think they're really nice tanks. I watch Panzermeister build really good looking Stugs, and I've always been interested to do it. So it's a smart kit that was attractive as well. Haven't built a Dragon kit for a while. I'm not entirely sure how I want to portray this. I'm leaning towards snow, but I can't make up my mind. And the other one was also a Dragon Smart Kit, the Panther G, SD KFZ 171. And I bought this because I wanted to have that third comparison. So I've done the Tamiya out of the box, and I've done the Tamiya Pimp. And I thought it might be interesting, and I won't do this straight away, but later on down the track, to do the Dragon one. It's sort of the middle one between it's got more to it than a Tamiya kit, but it hasn't got all the PE of the pimped version. So it's just a thought. We'll see how that goes. So bench update, really just what I've been doing on the bench, and most of what I've been doing on the bench has been tidying up and getting the bench ready. That was sort of a New Year's resolution to get myself sorted and have a clear and efficient working station. So I did just get the first coat down on the Panther. Now the other thing I did do, which I actually remembered to film, was I built the Hobby Zone paint station. So really nice, just having a look at some of the parts here. It's pretty logical how it goes together. You've got some really strong magnets. I think they're nemoidium, but I'm sure I'll be corrected if that's not true. And they're supposed to go into the allocated holes, and that way you can sort of build and stack on top of other units. I didn't need to do that, so I didn't put the magnets in. But they're very strong, and they were just hard to pull apart. They just fly together from a reasonable distance, so they might come in useful for something further on down the track, I think. So I just did a little bit of dry fitting first to make sure I knew that all the parts were where they were supposed to be, and got on with using just some PVA glue to put it all together. So I'll give you a speed look at that in a second. I'll come back to pick up after this.
What did you do? What did you do? What did you do this morning?
So having built the paintbrush holder from Hobby Zone, that left me with this nasty gap at the end of the bench, and I needed something to fit in there, but it was an odd length. I can't remember exactly now that I'm doing the audio, but I'm sure we'll see the diagram shortly. I want to say 40 centimeters long, but anyway, I needed to put something in there, so I thought I'd have a crack at making something similar to the Hobby Zone products that fit the exact spot. So it was 460 long, so yeah, it was a little bit of an odd shape. Anyway, I went to the local hardware shop, got a sheet of 6mm MDF and 3mm melamine coated MDF, and those two sheets cost me $12. So put that into context with the paintbrush holder and the two paint racks, which I think were deep into the $30 mark, about a third of the cost for materials. So that started on an encouraging note. So sit back and relax for the next few minutes. Watch me narrowly avoid removing a limb with the infrequent use of power tools that I do have. Anything's possible. And you can figure out what's going on. It's pretty evident, I think, as it unfolds. I'll come back in a little while. And here it is now, my pretty much completed tidied workbench, and very happy with how it all came together. So I feel a lot more motivated now that I don't look at the sprawling mess that's on my bench, and hopefully this is the beginning of a little bit more productive time at the bench building actual models. I was happy with how the shelf came out. Look, I'll be honest, it's not perfect. I think from top to bottom it's probably out by a mil, and the shelves are probably not 100% level, but they're very, very close. So anyway, everything sits on it nice and neat, and I can see everything at a glance that I typically need at arm's length. So fits the spot nicely, and I'm pretty happy with it all. So today we're going to look at the two 144th scale planes that I just bought, the Messerschmitt initially, and I was super impressed when I cracked the box, because I don't really know what I was expecting, but the instructions are quite good, and they've got some good colour call-outs, quite extensive actually for the Messerschmitt, and so I thought, well, that's an interesting but pleasant surprise. And then we got onto the plastic in a nice little bag, all sealed. Didn't look like there were too many sprues, so we get two of these. So there's two planes in the kit. Again, I was really, really surprised by the number of pieces and the detail and the quality. Yeah, far exceeded my expectations. Nicely and crisply moulded. The clear parts are beautiful. They're super clear, so certainly nothing to complain about there. There's even a little bit of PE there for the wheels, and probably a couple of other bits and bobs. I'm not a plane builder, so I'll learn a few things as I go through this. Extensive decals, really, really good quality. Very thin. They look like they're in perfect registry, so these little planes should come up a treat. Probably looking to have about 4 or 5 in Dio. And on the other side will be two MiG-21s from the Haledonian Air Force. And again, really extensive instructions came in this box, and I was super impressed by that as well. And I think, I don't think they'd be too hard to build anyway, but this certainly makes it idiot-proof, which is perfect for me. And also some reasonably good colour call-outs as well. Haven't quite figured out what the livery for the Haledonian fighter jets will be, so I'm still pondering what that might look like. So a little bit of advertising blurb in the box as always, which is a normal thing. And then the plastic equally as good as the Messerschmitt's. Good detail, looks like a nice quality plastic. I can't see too many faults or short shots, or the connection points, given they're really tiny parts, seem to be in really sensible places. And quite frankly, I was just uber impressed. As I said, I've never built such a small plane before. This came very well protected, and clear parts for this were also exceptionally good. So all in all, extra impressed. And what certainly came as a bit of a surprise to me as I was going through the packaging was that it's also, like the clear parts, as you can see here, the clear parts are, I think they're really, really good. But you start to think, God, how am I going to paint carefully around all the edges there and do what I need to do? And it comes with some masking sheets, which I wouldn't have thought was a thing for 144th scale. So, I've never used anything like this before in this size, so that should be a bit of a learning experience for me. And of course the other part is the Russian decals. I doubt whether I certainly won't be using the Russian stars, but there might be some potential to use the numbers and certainly the decals for the interior, which are quite crisp. I mean, this is uber tiny, so all in all, really, really happy, and I'm looking forward to, this will be a side project as I work on other larger dios. So the Haledonian segment is a bit lame because I think you've seen these Jeeps before. And they really haven't progressed since the last time I showed you, but typically what will be in this section is anything I'm doing. So I've got a few kits that I need to do to finish off sort of like the support for the armour. And then I've got those little 144th planes, which I'm really keen to get stuck into. And that'll be the flavour of this. Nothing exciting, won't be how-to-dos or anything like that. Just giving you an update on the growth of the army. And finally, the segment of some interesting stuff that I've seen. And today this is 3 channels in particular. First one, Laser Creation World, run by a guy called Thomas. And the man is just, he's brilliant. So he makes stuff, but he makes stuff in a huge scale. He uses a laser cutter, he uses 3D printers. And in addition to just being able to build some really fantastic constructions, he's also an excellent modeler. And the most recent diode that he's done, which I'm showing you a little bit of footage, is just fantastic. And it's actually, for me, it's a really unique and brilliant piece of work, because it shows a sort of before and after on the one diode, and it's linked in a really lovely way with the German soldier picking up a flower that had been left behind. So thoroughly recommend checking him out if you're not already a subscriber. Jump on, because you'll learn heaps and he does brilliant work. Up next is Greg Riley, and again another great modeler. I really enjoy watching his segments when they get up, and in particular more recently Russian T-34, and the paint job, I thought, gee, he went to exhaustive lengths. He took meticulous care in painting it, and I thought it absolutely came up a treat. There was great modulation, there was great tonal variation, and that's with the camera, and we all know that the camera doesn't really do that sort of work justice. So yeah, again, a modeler that I'd thoroughly recommend. He's got a lovely style, gentle nature, and he's quite informative along the way without being one of those guys who shove it down your throat. He just shows you what he does, and what he does is great stuff. So check him out and jump on board as well. And last today, but absolutely no means least, is Mick Cohen. And well, I really don't know how to approach this. The guy is brilliant. I just love watching the stuff that he does. I love the way he thinks his way through what a diorama should look like. Some of his subject matter selections are just outright brilliant. I thought he did a very brave and bold dio with the Panther a little while ago, and did it in grayscale to mimic the picture that he was copying. And I don't know if I'd have the courage to do that, and it came out magnificently. So you sort of think you could sit back on your laurels and rest on that, but then he's banged another one out in short order after that, which is a winter replica of a Russian tank, probably a propaganda shot, running past a destroyed Tiger, and pulled that off with the difficulty of having to replicate smoke, which sort of left me gobsmacked. And now, within the space of a heartbeat, he's got a beautiful dio up with a couple of Panthers there. So yeah, just learn a lot from Mick and find it entertaining, but his skills are sublime, and again, thoroughly recommend. Jump on board, because you need to see this guy and the work that he does. And that's it, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show, something different, but hopefully a bit of fun. So let me know your favourite segments. As always, like if you liked, thumbs up never goes astray, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and of course, really look forward to reading your comments, and I respond to all of them. Take care, guys. See you next time.